So today is the 12th of Av and the 16th of August, and we're at the we're towards the end of chapter 14 in Shorosh Mitzvahs Tefillah. So what we saw is that he's now going to give us the Chassidic explanation of what this all means. Until now, we've been doing Kabbalistic intents. We said that we had this whole story about the Maggid, that in the end, if you don't translate it into something that you can experience in some psychological way, then it remains some kind of faraway intention, and it's not clear what it means exactly. Something that sounds relevant. So, we said that the light that comes in the first parsha of Shema is the name of 42. And that this name is elevation. There's another word that's used in Chassidus and Kabbalah for elevation. It's called istalkut. Istalkut means that something is removing itself. Salik in Aramaic means elevation. The salik in Aramaic means to elevate. Mamish the same explanation exactly, but when we say it in Hebrew, it's a word from Aramaic, it's not from Hebrew. But when we say it in Hebrew, we mean it's gone. Okay? We just mean in general it's gone. But in Aramaic it means salik. The Zohar says when it came up in Hashem's mind to create the world. So it's an elevation, and so this is called istalkut. We're going to see this in a moment. So now he says, Uvi'ur advarim. What does it mean that what we're talking about is chesed? Because the first parsha of Shema is V'ahavta. The second one's also about V'ahavtim. But this one is more V'ahavta. Why? Because there's nothing going wrong. Everything is just you should love Hashem. And the second parsha already says if you don't do so and so, so that's already Gvura in the parsha itself. But the content of our parsha is all chesed. So what does it mean now that the light that's in here is from Gvura, from the name of 42? So now he's going to explain it according to Chassidus. וביאור הדברים, הנה פרשת שמע כתיבה אהבת בכל מאודיך. אבל בפרשת והיה עם שמע לא נזכר אהבת מאודיך. He says the big difference is in the love between the first and the second is that in the first it says with all of your levavcha, with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your me'od.
Might.
So people say might. But what does it mean? It really, so I told you, Rosh Hashanah like to translate it as with all of your more. More. It's always more. What? So that's one explanation in Chazal. Chazal says it could be with all of your possessions, with all of your money. But really, what does it mean? That you have to go beyond. What does it mean to go beyond? So I don't understand. What does it mean? What can I do beyond? What can I do more? So he says, this is not shayach. In the second parsha, it doesn't say. It says, with all of your heart and all of your might. Now, there's another difference between them, that in the first parsha, it's talking about an individual. It's saying in the singular. In the second parsha, it's saying it in the plural. So you could add maybe that to an individual you can say you have to sacrifice yourself, but I can't say that to a community. The community doesn't make sense. On the other hand, we've seen a lot of times that it does work that way. There were whole communities during the Spanish expulsion and the Inquisition and all that whole communities gave themselves over. In any case, the point though is that he says Meodecha is not in the second parsha. It's only in the first. Why? The Meodecha hu inyan shem mem bet shu or gvura bekli chesed. To be able to go beyond your limits, that can only be through gvura. You can't achieve that type of love. So he says the whole thing is talking about love. But the light that's shining in it is light of Gvura, because Gvura is what allows you to step outside of your boundaries. If you didn't have Gvura here, there would be no way to say B'chol Modecha. So now he's tying it in very tightly, saying it has to be the light of Gvura here. Because otherwise the Pasuk could not speak about Bechol Modecha. You should love Hashem with all of your more, with all of your, beyond everything you have. What does it really mean, Bechol Modecha? We'll see in a moment. It's limitless love. Only might can bring you to break limits, to get out of your limits. To break the limits, you need strength, you need might. You can't do it through love. It's not going to work. If you want to love limitlessly, you have to incorporate might into it. You have to have gvura in it. שזהו פירוש מאוד, ורוצה לומר בלי גבול, היינו למעלה מהגבלת הכלי. And it's so much so that it's going beyond the confines of the vessel itself. What's the vessel? שלא תוכל האהבה להתיישב בכלי הלב. That the love cannot even be held in the heart. The heart is bursting. It's overflowing. It's beyond. It goes further. אלא שירצה להיפרד מן הכלי ולהיכלל במקור החיים אין סוף ברוך הוא. So the person wants to even extract himself from his body entirely in order to cling to God. Now this makes sense. Why does it make sense? Because what did we say? Where are we coming from? From saying Shema Yisrael. What does Shema Yisrael mean? We said it's going to where there is no name. It's beyond everything. It's before there's a world. And if you love Hashem at that level, if you connect to Hashem, again, what does it mean to love? If you have a connection. If you have a connection to Hashem at that level, then the whole world, in a certain sense, is tafel. It's not interesting. It's a shadow of what the truth really is.
But this is a concept. It has to be a concept.
What do you mean a concept? They shouldn't be practiced.
Yeah, you should be.
It's theoretical.
Yeah.
No, it's not theoretical. It's what you should feel. It says this is what you should feel when you're saying V'afta b'chol ma'odecha. Hashem is telling.
It should be an aspiration, but it can't be.
It can, and it's aspiration is so strong that it goes out of the vessel entirely.
And then you lose the connection with the goof.
Right? That's what he's saying. That's exactly what a mitat neshika is. When we say that Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, they died by a kiss, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about that the soul is so strongly connected to God that it doesn't even feel the body. It slips out. And that is what the sages say in Brachos, that there's lamavet totzaot. It says there's totzaot. Totzaot is a word which means consequences today. But really what it means is ways of going out. So it says there's totzaot, number of ways for the soul to come out of the body. How much is totzaot? So it's Tav is 800, and Vav Tzadik is 96, and Aleph is another one. So there's 897 ways that the soul departs the body. And it says the hardest one is like when you try to take a piece of wool out of a thorny bush. Get it out. The slightest one is taking a hair out of milk. It's like nothing. So, and even that's not yet neshika. Neshika is like the hair out of the milk is not yet like mitat neshika. Like what? There's still something there. Here, the soul is so strongly connected to its source that it doesn't even remember that there is a body. So it says that's the love that Hashem wants, and for that you need might. You need to be a gibor. You can't, like a person, you have to be gibor in your connection. You have to be a strong, very, very mighty and strong connection to be able to do that. skipped here? והוא בחינת האהבה העולה על כולן הנזכר בליקוטי האמרים פרק נון. And this is at the end of the Tanya. Almost the end of the Tanya is 3 chapters that are about Kodesh HaKodashim. It's about different topics. How it's connected to the Tanya, even a lot of people said the last 3 chapters was a mimer in itself. And it's the hisbonenus of the Tanya. It's the part that's the most intellectual of the whole Tanya. The last 3 chapters, talking about the 53 chapters of what's called Likutei Amarim. But the last chapter is chapter 50. What does he say in chapter 50? Meaning the last chapter of the whole topic of the Tanya, which is Karov hadavar elecha be'meod. This thing is very close to you. So there, he explains that there's a love that is greater than all the loves we've discussed. He discusses 6 different types of love at the end of the Tanya, and then he has a 7th. And he said in the 50th chapter, it's not by mistake that it's in the 50th, because 50 is always related to Bina. It's always related to understanding, sphere of understanding. And that is called the Kimalat HaZa'av al Kesef. And there, that type of love is compared to how gold is more precious than silver. Because when I correspond the metals, the 7 precious metals, or the 7 metals that were known in antiquity, to the Sfirot, so love, which is Chesed, is silver. So all the types of love are types of silver. Gold is might, it's Gvura. It's not connected as a word to Chesed, it's not connected to love. But in the 50th chapter he says, but there's a type of love that is connected to gold. What is that? It's the Gvura within Chesed. What is that? What type of love is? That's the type of love we're discussing here.
That's my sphere.
Gvurat Elyonot de Bina Ila, and it comes from the tremendous Gvura that Bina gives, that understanding gives. That's why it's in the 50th chapter. דהיינו שעל ידי התבוננות בגדולת אינסוף ברוך הוא, דכולה כמי כלא ממש חשיב, תתלהט ותתלהב הנפש להכיר תפארת גדולתו ולהיפרד מהפתילה והעצים שנאחזת בהם. So here, when it comes out of contemplation, that's why it's connected to Bina. You can't, it's not a feeling. If it becomes a feeling, that's might. But here, you have to take it from its source. It's a source of contemplation that gives you this tremendous connection that the soul is so fiery in its connection to Hashem and to His greatness that it's like the flame is now pulling itself out of the wick and the burning, whatever the material is burning is. It's completely like being extracted. Just like we said, it's like a mitat nashika. The person doesn't even feel that he's leaving anything behind.
So it's like the smoke rising from the candle.
And from that he comes to a true, what we call klos hanefesh. Klos hanefesh literally means that the soul is extinguished. It looks to you like it's extinguished. But that's the feeling. It doesn't mean that the person has to die every time. But it means that it's possible to reach that level, at least at some level.
So was that the same as Klal Yisrael experienced when Hashem?
Right, exactly. Nafshi yatsa b'dabro. That when the source was revealed, when Hashem gave us the Torah, so the people felt that they can't hear it. Why? Because their soul is departing.
They say the Rebbe used to hold on to something physical.
Yeah, always.
The same idea.
Right. ונמצא שהאהבה זו היא מבחינת גבורות, שמהם בא סיבת העלייה וההסתלקות, כמו שמבואר בליקוטי האמרים, שהוא מבחינת תגבור את יסוד האש שבנפש אלוקית. So this all comes from gvura, this type of love. So that's the type of love that you can reach in the first paragraph of Shema. אחור הגבורה הוא בכלי החסד, but still, the gvura here is in the vessel of loving kindness, of chesed, שהרי עלייה והסתלקות זו נעשית ונגמרת על ידי אהבה, והאהבה עצמה היא מבחינת חסד כנודע. What's the other type? The other type is when a person goes and sacrifices his life. That's not done with chesed. There's no chesed there. When a person has to sacrifice his life, like people do in a war, it's not out of, you can say all you want that they're doing it because they're protecting their families. It doesn't matter at that moment, because at that moment he has to fight with all of his might. And he knows that he might be willing to. Maybe before, 2 days before, he thought it might come to this, but right now it doesn't. He's not thinking about his family, because if he starts thinking about his family, he won't be able to fight. So that is completely different. Here, what he's saying is that this type of love. Where do you see this type of love? In the connection that a person has when he's contemplating Hashem. In the contemplation of Hashem, there you can get to this type of love. But it comes out of might. It's not the type of love, meaning the contemplation makes the person forget the body entirely. The body's not relevant, but it's all love. Why are we saying it's all love? Because in the end, it's love for Hashem, because I'm still distant. I'm not with Him entirely. It's not like I've joined Him. I'm very much attracted, very much connected, and I'm willing to leave my needs behind. What is this like? When I my wife tells me to go do something that I really don't want to do, and I need a lot of might to do it. And why do I do it in the end? Because I love her. Because I love my family. Because I love these things.
During the Churban Europe, the Rabbanim were giving.
Well, what
during the Churban Europe during the holiday, they were giving shirim basically to communities about Mesiras Nefesh.
Okay.
Now I want to go see what they were. Do you understand? They could have been incorporating some.
You should see.
Yes.
But there it could be it's a little bit different because it was passive. Meaning it's not the might that the person, so that's why it could be like what you're describing, that it could be that it was out of love, because they weren't actually fighting.
Contemplate.
They had the contemplation, correct.
ונמצא הכלי הוא בחינת חסד והוא בחינת אהבת ואהבת, אלא שאור גבורה נכנס ומתלבש בה והוא שיהיה אהבה זו להיפרד מהפתילה. And still the contemplation has to be that my soul is departing my body. That is the contemplation. That's what it means with בכל מאודיך. That's what it means with all of your might. ונמצא שמכוון באהבה זו בחינת גבורה, דהיינו הסתלקות מהכלים. And so the intent here in this type of love is to have might, to be able to depart from the vessels, להסתלק, to elevate yourself above the vessels. וכוונה זו היא בחינת האור, עם היות שהאהבה עצמה והיא בחינת כלי, שעל ידה נשלם מכוון זה היא בחינת חסד. So still the light here is might, and that's what's allowing you to elevate. But still, the sentiment is one of love. It's not one of might. It's one of my attraction to Hashem. It's one of my connection to Hashem. So we finished chapter 14, and God willing, chapter 15 next week.
The motivation is might, but at the end it's love. Is that what you're saying?
No, the motivation is love. The energy, the engine is might.
The vehicle is might.
Right.
Wait, the
vehicle is love. The vessel is love. The engine, the motivation, not the vehicle means the vehicle.
Ah, you mean the clay? No.
The motivation is love.
Right. No, the motivation is might. Right.
Yes.
That's what's motivating.
But at the end it's love. Yeah.